Hello YouTube, this is WF7i Homebrew, and I just thought I'd do a little walkthrough of my antenna situation as it is currently. So we are in sort of mid-November here. I forget the date, I think it's maybe the 18th. We're kind of having local sunset here, but I think you can still make out most of the setup here. So a lot of this is going to change. This is probably, I would just call it version 1.0 of what I hope to be a much more extensive antenna farm as we go forward here in a few years. This is a mast. It's about 15 feet high. I've got a TV antenna on top and 3 guy wires on that mast, and it's hard to see, but there is a wire. There's actually 2 wires coming off the mast at right angles just below the TV antenna. So you can kind of see one going off to the right, kind of going on down that way, and one's going in front of me there to a distant mast on the other side of the field. That's about 120 so feet away. So what this is a giant loop antenna, and you really can't see the wires, but basically where those woods start up is another corner, and then back over to this corner of the woods across the way is the 4th corner, and those are just held up from cords in the trees. So each side's roughly 120, 130 feet long, and that forms a loop antenna. This is not an MLA 30, this is a massive horizontal outdoor loop. And it's about, I would say, maybe 15 feet high. It's not, really it's not high enough, honestly, for an antenna like this, but and I can talk about performance in a minute, but it's fed with a 300 ohm twin lead type, used to be an old type of antenna cable. That runs down to the base here and into the little pipe. So I have buried cable for my antennas, and this goes under this muddy dirt thing here into the shack. There's a little port there at the side of my house. That was a real pain to get installed, and I did not do it the right way, really. And again, this is all going to be dug up and redone in the future, but maybe in a year or so. My future plans are to put up a tower somewhere out in that grassy area, crank up tower. I'm going to redo the trench, put a much bigger pipe in. I'm going to get some equipment out here to dig the trench appropriately rather than trying to use a shovel, which really doesn't work well with Virginia clay. And so that's way down the road. But this here is just a little, again, antenna I just kind of threw up. I had this antenna in storage for probably 15 years or 20 years even, maybe. This is a dual band 144 440, so 2 meter 440. I believe it was a Ringo Ranger. I'm not even sure the make of it anymore. Cushcraft, Ringo Ranger, whatever. But it's a dual band antenna, and it works actually quite well, even though it's ground mounted. The advantage I have here is a slope, so the land drops off dramatically going that way. You can see mountains and stuff. I'm shooting over the top of everyone's roof. Drops off over that way. It actually drops off beyond these trees too. So the only place it doesn't drop off is down this away. There's a little bit of a rise there, but most of the repeaters and everything are actually in these other directions. So I can hit a lot of stuff and I don't have too much trouble. And as far as the performance of this system, as far as the HF, so this big wire loop antenna I use on all bands of HF, so 160 through 10. And I've got a tuner inside the shack that I use to tune it. And it's something I picked up at the Dayton Hamvention a few years ago. And it's just a real simple sort of Pi network style tuner, a couple of inductors and or a couple of capacitors and an inductor. Works real well. So what happens is this 300 ohm cable comes into the shack, and it goes into, I guess I can show you real quick here what that looks like. And not real fancy again. A lot of junk here. This shack is not in great shape right at the moment, and a lot of miscellaneous stuff here. But This is a homebrew tuner somebody made, but it actually works really well, does the job. And so 300 ohm comes in and hits this little LDG ballon. So right now it's a 9-to-1. Probably could use a 4-to-1. I don't know if I really need a 9-to-1, but it seems to work pretty well. So that transforms the impedance and goes from a balanced line to an unbalanced, which is the coax. The unbalanced comes into the tuner. Output of the tuner then goes to a switch, and from there on I run the radio. So that's about it. So my plans for the future are to, and you can see my shack here. It's a little shot of some stuff I got up here. Kind of a nice little setup. Again, not set up completely yet. You can see there's a lot of empty space on these shelves. Some homemade shelves I put together to hold the equipment because I don't like a lot of the stuff that you can buy. I wanted to have more custom, and it's kind of fun to work with the wood and stuff. So, but in the future here, fairly soon, I hope, I'm going to replace those supports outside with telescoping masts that can get me up to about 45 feet. There's going to be a lot of guy wires with those. But I think that'll do the job. I'm still debating a little bit about that, but I think that's what I'm going to do. And then that'll get my height of the loop up to hopefully about 40 feet or so. And I think that'll really dramatically help my performance. You know, it does pretty well. It seems to do actually better on 160 and 80. 40, it's okay. 20, it seems pretty bad. 17, it's okay. It's pretty good, I guess. It's not great. 15 and 10, I just don't know because the conditions just haven't been great. But there's some variability, I guess, with the radiation pattern and it being so low to the ground. Some of the bands just don't do as well as others. So it's all kind of an experiment. I'm going to try different things. If I don't like the different loop arrangement, I'll probably do something different. But until I can get a Yagi up there and a crank-up tower, I'm going to play with this loop. And it does get me out pretty well on 160, I would say. I've never really been able to use that band, and I get pretty good signal reports. You know, it's not astounding. I'm only running 100 watts, and again, it's pretty low, but it surprisingly does pretty good down there. So, alrighty, well, that's it for now. Just thought I would check in with a video. 7-3.